Hey, it's Logan Miller, and thanks for joining me for this episode of Mastered to learn about the life of a DIY artist. It's a big topic, and when we were thinking about it, it was tough to narrow it down and find a focus. So I asked a friend what her thoughts were, and then it became clear that we needed to have her as the guest. So for this episode, we dive into the world of independent artistry with one of Canada's finest independent artists, Parker Graye. Together, we explore the ins and outs of living the DIY life in the music industry, from crafting a release strategy to building meaningful industry relationships. Whether you're an aspiring artist or someone looking to get into the business, Parker's insights and experiences are going to be very helpful. I'd also love to hear from you in the comments of this episode. What are some of the biggest challenges that you face as a DIY artist? All right, now let's jump into our chat with Parker Graye. I am wearing a Parker Graye hat.
I was going to say nice hat, by the way. You're killing.
Big fan.
Slay.
Long-time fan, first-time interviewer. So today, Parker, thanks for joining us. We're talking about being an independent artist and living life in the DIY lane of this music industry.
Yeah, I mean, woof.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anytime.
Honored to be here.
Yeah, so why don't we, before we get into like the meat and potatoes here, why don't you introduce yourself a bit, who you are, where you're from?
Yeah. So, Parker Graye, originally from Orillia, Ontario, which is where the Front Porch hails from, which we love.
Which is where I'm currently sitting.
Yeah. Spent 15 years in Vancouver, and now I'm in Nashville, doing the damn thing as an independent, writing for both myself and other artists. I've been lucky enough to see some success on both sides, and hopefully some of my ridiculous knowledge comes in handy to someone, to one of the listeners of this episode.
Here's hoping.
Yeah.
I know it will. So first off, as a DIY artist, what does like a release process look like for you? How do you get ready for that?
Yeah, so I'm probably overly organized, and I try to make sure I have at least 12 to 16 weeks ahead of my release date, knowing all of the things that I have to do. So I kind of make myself a bit of a timeline, and then I work backwards from the release date, categorizing things in terms of like content, PR. In those things are other things like one sheets, artwork, distribution, all of those things. So I kind of try to map out as much time as possible. Obviously, there's been situations where I've turned things around in a much shorter time frame, and I think in the earlier days, like when I was first starting out, I was incredibly diligent, probably about that 12 to 16 weeks, almost probably to a detriment. And now I can turn things around a little bit faster, and that's just come with rinse and repeating the same kind of thing, and then getting to know contacts in the PR world, and my having a distribution team and all of those things to kind of help move things along. But I map everything out in terms of like, what are the hard assets that I need for the release? And that would be things like a one sheet, an about for the song, press photos, if you're doing new press photos, the artwork, and then visuals for like the Spotify canvas or any of the canvases for Apple Music, anything that like the hard assets that you need to go live, be it on the day of or things to kind of pitch out to people to get them to talk about it. Try to get those laced up in like the first 2 weeks, because everything with those, it kind of hinges on everything else. And then from there, it's like a series of follow-ups. So once I start emailing out, whether it's industry contacts or press or, press, I say lightly when it comes to like Instagram accounts or things like that, I try to just start to follow up to be like, hey, did the thing, FYI, this is what's coming, FYI, it's a week out from that. And then putting in my kind of content schedule of what stories am I putting, what teasers am I doing of the song, is there an interesting way that I can approach this that someone else has kind of done that I can test out for my own platforms. So it's pretty tight. Like now I don't have to write it down as much. Like I really know what has to get done when. But I think in the beginning, it's so important to build out a calendar and knowing those dates that you have to hit to make sure not only are things in, like, you can throw a song up to DistroKid or whatever, but it's like, are you setting that song up for success and giving it enough time to marinate with the DSPs and like put in your song pitches for playlisting and all of that stuff. So I think early on, having some type of a calendar that you can follow is so helpful, and I know it was incredibly helpful for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say like at this point, like you said, it probably lives a lot in your head. But when you put it pen to paper, where did you start? Did you start from release day and then work backwards, or did you just kind of have an idea, or how did that look?
Yeah, so I start from release day and work backwards. So you want to obviously have your like 4 to 8 weeks. 8 weeks is probably generous. That's my perspective, but I'm not on the DSP side. So whatever they tell you, follow their rules. At least 4 weeks, but the more the better. So working backwards from the release date and knowing kind of like those milestone markers. So everything has to be in the DSPs 4 to 6 weeks, 4 to 8 weeks before release. And then knowing I have to have everything to my distributor at least 2 to 3 weeks before that. And making sure that those kind of things are happening. And then from there on, like, I'm pitching stuff as early as I have the assets ready. So if I know the song's coming out January 1, actually January is a tough one because Christmas, but if I know something's coming out August 1st, then I'm talking to press contacts, industry contacts, that kind of thing, probably as early as May, to kind of plant the seed, like this is what's coming, and then following up, because you want to give, especially the PR people, you want to give them time with your assets because they're getting a million emails of that everybody's dropping music, and who knows how many other people are, sharing the same release day as you. So giving everyone more than enough time, like similar to the DSPs, like 4 to 6 weeks for them to get the content added into their new Music Friday roundups, or if you're getting them to do a review piece, all of those things, like getting those things in early.
Yeah, speaking of someone who gets a million of those a day, it's very helpful to get it as early as possible.
Yeah, and I mean, I think like, and this is probably taking us off on a different path, but it's like when you're doing those things, like lucky for me, I worked corporate business, PR, comms, marketing, so that I kind of had that foundation, but all of this stuff is so easy to learn. And if you ask questions, or you ask ChatGPT, or you ask you guys even, like, how do you want to receive stuff, making sure that you have all of the information that you would want that person to share or that publication to share. Because if you can make, and I'm sure you guys can attest to this, if you can make the job of the editor or the platform
100%.
make it easy for them, so that all they have to do is copy and paste or pull some things out that they can then turn into something else. But if you just send them the song and be like, I'm dropping this new song on April 2, then you're like, what do I do with this? Like, I don't have to
absolute worst thing that I get in the inbox is, hi, so-and-so, or dear Front Porch, or whatever, I have a new song coming out June 24th. Let me know if you want to hear it. And it's like, I'm not replying to you. I'm just not replying it. Like,
right. And like,
happening.
I have heard from people who are like really entering the scene in the market that they're nervous about sharing their music. And I understand. I really get that, especially in the beginning. 'Cause you're like, what if something happens, or doesn't matter. Like, it's not gonna happen. It probably won't. And if it does, it's going to be such a moment in time that no one's even going to remember. Like, there's so much going on. But more often than not, if you're not comfortable sharing the MP3, then send a locked link.
Send a link. Send a SoundCloud link.
Exactly. Like, you just want to be able to give people something to, like, go off of. I mean, it's so hard if you went to college and you try to start to write an essay. It's like you need something to go off. Like, and then once you get going, it's easy. Don't make it difficult for anybody to talk about your music.
Yeah, the thing that I always say that we need, or that what makes our lives the easiest here, is we need obviously a link to the song or the song itself. We need a picture, an updated picture, a couple of them in case we want to use a couple different ones on social media. A couple sentences about the song, like the inspiration behind the song, the story, because the story is what sells it. to us as editors, a couple sentences in there that we can use as a quote.
Huh?
It just makes reading it a lot better for our audience if there's a
Totally.
quote and a bio.
Yeah.
The bio is a big one,
Yeah.
an updated one, just because especially with new and emerging artists, we're writing pieces where people might not have heard of you yet.
Yeah.
So having a bio is really important.
And what's interesting too about the bio is I think it's one of the things that is most often overlooked because it's like it's just a bio. But
Hmm.
it's like no, this is actually the first moment where people get to know you if they haven't already dove into your socials or they're not like actively going to your social media page or website. And I feel like if you can have a really great well-crafted bio, if you spend $100 or $50 to pay someone to do it who writes bios, that's also such a great foundation of something that you'll have that you can then tweak and add things to as things
Hmm.
happen or give it to the next person to help develop it out. I mean, throw it into ChatGPT, tell it that you want to add stuff to it. Like a bio is one of those things in the early days where I'm like, don't go get a publicist.
Hmm.
Don't do that. I will like come to me, ask me questions. I'm so happy to help. But spend money on a bio. Spend money on great press photos. Make sure someone's not raking you over the coals and get a bio. There's so many people in our Canadian scene, especially. I mean, you guys have done stuff for people before. That, like, get a great bio written.
Yeah, the worst thing for me is when I'm working with an artist and they're like, I'm gonna get like their first song's coming out. I think I'm gonna get a publicist. Publicists have their space and that's great,
Yeah.
but you're not at a point where you need a publicist, so let me
No.
help you with what you need.
Yeah, and like learn the business. There's something so powerful about learning the business and learning how to run your music career like a little shop. Like if you just bought real estate and you're opening a flower shop, that's your music business. Like
Hmm.
how are you going to make sure that people are coming in, they're talking about you in the way that you want to be spoken about? Like you need to learn the business. And having those hard skills are going to separate you from everybody else because you can do it. And then you're so aware of what needs to get done that when you do find a manager or you do feel like you need a publicist, you already have a good foundation of like, what can I still do? What do I need help with? And understanding what they're supposed to be doing.
Well,
Because
and this industry is also full of people who will just take your money and do
they'll just take
whatever.
money.
So
Yeah.
if you have the base knowledge to do it, or at least have an understanding of it, you
Yeah.
can question people who are joining your team, and you
Right.
know what questions to ask
What are you bringing to the table?
Hmm.
We kind of got on a little rant there, didn't we? But
That's okay. That's what we're here for.
it's great.
So being a DIY artist, what are some of the benefits that you've seen? And we've touched on it a bit here, but what are some of the benefits that you felt as doing things DIY?
Um, Building the relationships yourself and being able to be the person that can call up the people at All Country News who can deliver the information to you guys, to Country with Celine, to build the relationships with the DSPs directly. I think that there's a lot of value in being able to be the direct contact. I saw this a lot when I was in corporate. Like the editors wanted to talk to the specific person. They didn't want to have to go through
Hmm.
10,000 loops to get to the person and it be delayed by weeks. So, but the beauty of that is that building those relationships, those people get to see you as a human being. And I think especially if you want people to like love you as a human, I think understanding you as a person is so helpful. And I think it gets you a lot farther to build that relationship and treat those people like they're friends and foster those relationships versus just being like the person that you only hit up because you're releasing a song.
Yeah.
Like that's not how this industry works. Like it's the foundation is relationships and you have to learn to nurture those. Um so I've seen that shift my career and I've seen those relationships both from a output side, meaning like DSPs, PR, those things. I've seen the success of those, but also with just industry people who I've kept in touch with, who I've shared some of the things that are going on with, or like gotten advice from, like just keeping those relationships flowing, I think is incredibly important. And I've seen the success from that. Um,
What would you say to
Autonomy.
someone? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
autonomy. Like if you know what you want to say and how you want to say it, both in your music as well as like how you're talking about the music that you're releasing, I think it's very powerful, and it's something where like if you know how to do that with yourself, people are going to be able to understand you better because it's the stuff's coming out of the horse's mouth. It's not someone else trying to regurgitate the thing that you told them. Um and ultimately, I think it gives you better clarity to choose, like, where am I going? Like, what's the path? And it can be really scary being out there on your own, especially with everything that goes on in the industry on a daily basis and so much music. But I think it forces you to steer your ship with confidence. And you might go off track, where we all have gone off track a million and one times, but like it gives you more clarity to be like, okay, I did these things that didn't really work, this is how that made me feel, okay, I'm going to shift here. Like if you don't just try those things and learn by trial and error, it's going to be really difficult to be able to confidently make choices from your gut if you're constantly outsourcing.
Makes sense. What would you say to someone though who lives in like small town, name a place, Canada,
Sure.
who like doesn't have these contacts yet, or doesn't know how to reach out to people, or who to even to reach out to? Where would you say your first step would be for those people?
So starting with building your songwriter and artist community is a really great place to start. Knowing the people who are at your level, who are the people that are coming up beneath you, and then the people who are like an echelon above you. Understanding all of those folks and seeing what they're doing and starting to write with them and become friends with them and build relationships with them, even if it's on social media and you're engaging with their content, you're asking them questions about what they're doing here and there, and obviously being respectful of people's space and time. But building those relationships ultimately is what helps kick you up to the industry side of things. Because someone will be like, oh, I was talking to so and so, and then you'd be like, oh, who's that? And you can start to inquire and learn about the players that you need to start integrating with. It's a weird word to use, but that's the way in. Like, also make great music. Like, focus
Right.
on art.
Number one, make great music.
Yeah, and like focus on your craft and be really proud of the things that you're doing and releasing. But make friends. Like, we're all friends. I mean, like that's what's so cool about the country scene is we are all just friends. Didn't start that way.
Nope.
It really didn't. For some of us, it didn't. Like, I remember emailing you guys for the first time and being so nervous, and now we're all friends. Like, it's great.
And like, hey, wait, we're from the same place.
Yeah, what's going on? Yeah. So I would say like build those contacts online. Like it's not weird.
Become comrades with people.
Absolutely. Comrades. That's amazing.
A good one. So having this creative control as being a DIY artist, how has that shaped your music?
Yeah. I mean,
it's kind of giving you like the freedom to do what you want.
yes. The trap though in it is when you don't have anybody else saying stay in your lane, it can be really easy to follow what's cool and what's hip and what's happening. But if you look at all of the artists that have been successful, they've stayed their lane. There might be the offshoot one that does the carbon copy of whomever and they got lucky. We see it all the time. But the ones that have longevity are the ones that kind of grinded it out and were nobody until all of a sudden they were somebody.
Right.
So it can't, like, you have to be aware of the trap. And I've gotten caught in the trap before too, where I'm like, well, this is cool right now. And it's like, whoa, hold on a second. It's obviously you're inspired by things. There's flavors of stuff that you start to pull into your music, which I think is still very important. But having the ability to make music that you like and have confidence in your taste is what's going to take you farther. And knowing that chances are there's someone else out there that's going to like what you're doing.
I think there's audience for everybody.
There is. And when people say there's room for all of us, I really do believe that, because I know that there's a lot of people who listen to my music who I don't know. And I know some of the people that listen to my music, I'm like, you listen to my music? That's great. Like, you can't explain it. Just if your music hits somebody, it hits somebody. but you can't get caught in the trap of becoming trying to be somebody else because you think it's going to create success. And it's a scary, scary place. It's really, really scary. And you have to have this like absurd level of blind faith. And obviously, like, you can ask people, like, am I crazy? Like, is this good? But that's why you go back to that group of people who you've built these relationships with, that you're writing songs with, that you admire, that you can have these like easy conversations with, to be like, is this trash?
I was going to say, how do you know who those people are? Because so many people don't want to hurt your feelings, or don't want to, like, you know, just say, I don't really like this, or like, this is really great. How do you know when someone is being for real there?
It takes time. I mean, I started off by showing my friends not in the industry, and I got some harsh responses in the early days. It was not good. It was not good. There was a lot of times where people were like, yeah, like, I see what you're trying to do. But that's part of it too, is like, you have to learn to build a thick skin anyways. And then when it comes to people in the industry, you start to learn. You admire, if you admire someone's work and they're your peer, those are great people to get feedback from, because you know that they have the experience. You love their music. You trust their ear and their eye. You start to build that group of people who you're like, I know if I bring them this, they will either give me some semblance of cohesive feedback, or something that will like get my gears turning and light the fire to make me do more. And you learn those things over time. I think that like, you have to have patience, because you want to find the right people, and those right people, the cream always rises to the top. And that also ebbs and flows. Like, there's been people who I've definitely overshared my music with, and then they probably don't get a demo from me anymore. and not because they weren't appreciative of me sending it, or they didn't give great feedback. There's just seasons.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So we talked a bit about the positives of being DIY. What are some of the challenges?
Oh,
I mean, how long do we have, I guess?
Yeah, like, we could go on for weeks. You're juggling a lot. It's a lot. I mean, I'm now 14 singles deep, all done basically on my own. And I can tell you, every single time I am a chicken with my head cut off. Even at this rate, being wildly organized and knowing what I have to get done and having all of it quite organized. It's hard. There's a lot of balls in the air. You're constantly thinking about the next thing. It can be hard to navigate on your own. Like, am I doing enough? Is this too much? You have to be wildly organized. You have to have a goal in mind. And you have to know when to ask for help. Because if you can't do those three things, I think you're going to be setting yourself up for failure. It's also just like, we're in an industry where everyone is releasing music, and like, you have to be, it can be really lonely when you see other people getting things and you don't get the thing. And then you're kind of quietly in your room by yourself crying because you didn't get the thing. And it's like, you need that group of people around you that are equally as supportive, that are probably on the same journey. And you have to know when to to truly celebrate those people, and also know that those people have your back when you're feeling a little left out of the circle.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Just from like the artists that I know, having that community with each other, just like, got your back. We'll celebrate when you get your thing. We'll celebrate when I get my thing, and all that.
Yeah, and like, everybody's gonna get their flowers. And I think a really interesting characteristic and something to watch among people is, how do other people react when you win, and then watch yourself how you react when other people win. And I think being very cognizant of what's going on inside, like, of course you're going to be upset when a peer of yours gets something that you were really rooting for, and you're allowed to be upset, and it's going to suck for a couple of days, but you will forget about it. It will go away. But be conscious of how if someone else gets something that you wanted, be conscious of how you show up for that person, and celebrate that person, because that's going to be the same person you're going to hope celebrates you when you get the thing. And that's, you have to just learn that. And it's not always easy, for sure.
So, a new artist, where should they focus first?
Oh. Um, are we talking like the music's there, or they're stepping onto the scene?
They're stepping onto the scene. They might have an idea of a song. Maybe they can get it produced. Where would the first thing, like the first step, be for you that you think that they should focus on for either deciding to release or how to release?
Um, when it comes to deciding to release, I would say go and write more songs. Your first song is probably not going to be your song. And I hate to break your heart. It might be later. Maybe it is an absolute gem and you hit it out of the park on your first go. And if you did, you're amazing. But I would say go write songs. Go write for the next 6-8 months. Get a stack of songs that you're really excited about, that you feel really showcase your skill set, your songwriting, your stories, your abilities, your voice, all of those things. Find that community of people, because those are going to be the people that you then turn to go write with later, or build your bag of songwriting tricks. Now, if you have a couple of songs and you're like, I think I want to take the jump and I just want to start releasing music, I would say go learn the business. Go learn the business. Go learn how people get their songs out in the world. Go learn how to send your song to a front porch. Go learn about royalties and PROs. Learn the business and know what you're getting yourself into, because it is expensive. You can do it really cheap, for sure, but if their quality is going to suffer because you're just itching to get songs out, just wait.
Yeah.
Just wait. Save up your money and then talk to someone, like use Mastered. Find someone, even if it's an artist who's done it DIY most of their career, and get their advice on how you would start. I have done this for so many people who have reached out to be like, I'm doing this thing and I have no clue where to start. And I'm like, I'll help you. No problem.
Cool.
Let me tell you what to do. I can't give you all the answers. You still have to go do the work, but it's a boatload of work. Just because you've done the song doesn't mean that's it. Like, if you really want to do this thing.
Yeah.
So, like, I think really working on your craft is, like, the most important thing. Because once you get a song out, everyone's going to be like, what's next?
Yeah.
The cadence of release is every 3 to 6 weeks, sometimes less now with the amount of music coming out. So it's like, you don't want to release something and then disappear for 6 months. You want to have a series of songs ready, which is why I say go do the thing and then create a plan for those songs.
I also often tell people to join their local association, especially in
absolutely
especially in the country world. Like, I've done work in most other genres as well, but the country world really seems to have a different community.
Yeah.
And, like, each province in Canada has their own association, whether it's for country music or music in general. I'm sure the same thing is in the States.
Yes.
Like, go join. That's going to be your best place to meet like-minded people.
Yes, and beyond that, to the learning the business side, most of the provincial associations and CCMAs have resources to teach you the business. You can sit in on these seminars, and most of the time the membership fee is quite low for what you'll get in terms of someone who's very green. And you can listen to the people in the industry who are doing this on a daily basis, talking about all of the things. And if you can learn the business and then go and ask those people questions or be a part of a Q&A or anything like that, or reach out to those folks after the fact to be like, I was in the seminar, I loved X, Y, and Z that you spoke about, I have questions about this, could I have 10 minutes of your time? Like, learn the business. There's so many opportunities. If you don't know, ask someone.
That might be the title of this episode. Learn the
If
business.
you don't know, ask.
Yeah. When do you know when to bring on someone, like, for team? How do you know when it's time to find a manager, when to find a publicist, when to find whoever.
Yeah. So a lot of people talk about the champion, and one person in your circle that truly believes in what you're doing. And a champion can look like a manager, an agent, a publicist, a publisher, a label. It can look like anything. And sometimes these people show up because you played an incredible show. Somebody just finds you on the internet. And you want to be, and some of these people show up in the form of a business, like a publicist or a marketing company. And you need to be very careful about some of these people. Some of them are wildly helpful. Some of them are going to come to you too early and offer you things and overpromise and underdeliver. Something to be aware of. Ask lots of questions. Be curious without expectations. But as someone like me, I'll just use myself as an example because that's all I know. But I'm 14 singles in, prepping to release a record. I have not hired a single person yet. Not a single person, because I've done it by myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's only now that I'm like, there's too many balls in the air. Like, if I want to take this rocket ship to the black hole and the outer space beyond the outer space, I need help. Because there is a ceiling to your ability.
Right. There's only so many things one person can do.
Absolutely. And you start to get to a point where your creative brain starts to become way too foggy because you're thinking about the business and the analytics and the this and the deadlines and the that. And once those two things become a little too clouded, I think that's when you know you need some support. And that barometer is probably going to be different for a lot of people, but I think you should try to do it on your own as long as possible until you start really making money. Like, those Sirius XM checks are coming in and you're getting streams. You got millions and millions and millions and millions of streams. And you're like, I don't know what to do with this. Like, how do I handle all of this? That's when I think it's time to start having conversations with people and getting like a vibe check. It's a real awful way to say it, but it's like, who are the people that... Yeah, like, do you get a good vibe? Like, do you feel like you could work on a team and collaborate with these people because they're going to take a percentage of your work, or they're going to make you pay a retainer? Like, it all costs money at the end of the day. It costs something. But I think if you need to just focus on trying to do it for yourself as long as possible. And then once it gets to be too much, or somebody approaches you and they start to give you the idea that maybe we could support you, ask lots of questions.
Love it. Well, we're coming up to the end here, and I think that's a good place to end it.
So fast?
I know, it's real fast. But before we do go, can you give just a general piece of encouragement for anyone who's listening right now who just kind of feels stuck?
1, keep going. 2, go back to the reason why you started and create from the heart. It's real easy to get bogged down in the day-to-day and the accolades and the things and the stuff. And I think you have to stay rooted in the reason why you're doing this. And if the reason is to become famous or make lots of money, reconsider. If your desire to be in this industry as a creator, whether it be production, songwriter, artist, whatever, if you're leading every day from a place of because you truly love songs and you love music and you love performing and you love creating, then pull up your pants, have a little hot chocolate, wake up tomorrow and create from a place of like pure joy and bliss. And some days bliss is going to be really hard to find, but you just have to keep going. That's what I would say. That's what I would tell my younger self.
Perfect place to end. Thanks so much, Parker.
Thanks for having me. It was a treat.
So much.
This is Mastered by Front Porch Music. Join Logan Miller and Jenna Weishar, the hosts of CCMA-nominated On The Porch with Front Porch Music, for this mini-series podcast offering crash courses on the ins and outs of the music industry. Expert guests from across the Canadian music landscape sit down with Jenna and Logan to discuss labels, getting your shows booked, landing festival slots, A&R, social media, and so much more. Mastered by Front Porch Music is produced by Logan Miller, Jenna Weishar, and Jason Saunders. The theme song for this podcast was written, produced, and performed by Keith Hunt.